My name is Aria, and today I turned 28. I woke up hoping for at least a text from my family, but I found something much worse on Facebook. Photos from last night's surprise party thrown for my sister Nora. The entire family was there. The caption read, "The only one who deserves celebrating." I commented, "Nice cake." Mom replied, "At least someone's worth baking for." I smiled and typed back, "Enjoy it while you can." Before I continue my story, let me know where you're watching from. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, what happens next will show you exactly how to take your power back. The Facebook incident might shock you, but for me, this was just the final chapter of a lifelong pattern. Growing up in our household, there were clear roles. I was the responsible one. Nora was the golden child. Despite being 3 years younger than me, while my achievements gathered dust, she managed to receive praise for even the smallest efforts. I still remember my 10th birthday. I had asked for a small party with friends from school. Nothing fancy, just pizza and games in our backyard. The day before, Nora decided she wanted to join the local dance class. Suddenly, my birthday money became her registration fee. "We can celebrate next weekend," Mom said. That weekend never came. When our family divorced, I was 12 and Nora was 9. The split hit our household like a tornado, leaving emotional wreckage everywhere. Dad moved to the next town over, promising weekend visits that started monthly, then quarterly, then became just holiday visits. Mom fell into depression, and I picked up the slack. I cooked meals, helped with homework, and made sure bills stayed visible on the counter so Mom wouldn't forget to pay them. Nora reacted differently. She acted out, skipping school, slamming doors, and screaming that the divorce was somehow my fault. Rather than discipline her, Mom would spend hours consoling her, buying her gifts to make up for our broken home. "Your sister is sensitive," Mom would explain when I questioned the double standard. "You're strong, Aria. You can handle things." By 16, I had a 4.0 GPA, was captain of the debate team, and worked weekends at the local grocery store to save for college. When I made National Honor Society, my induction ceremony fell on the same day as Nora's junior high soccer game. No one from my family attended my ceremony. That night, they brought home ice cream to celebrate Nora scoring a single goal in a game they lost. "We're so proud of you too, Aria," Dad said over the phone when I called to tell him about my achievement. "But you know your sister needs the encouragement more than you do." College was my escape. I earned a partial scholarship and worked 2 jobs to cover the rest. Mom called weekly, but conversations always circled back to Nora's latest drama. When Nora graduated high school with a C average, they threw her a party that cost more than my entire first semester textbooks. When Nora decided to attend community college, I was genuinely happy for her. Maybe some structure would help her grow up, I thought. 6 months later, she dropped out, claiming it was too stressful. By then, I had graduated and landed an entry-level position at a marketing firm. I was making enough to rent a small apartment and start paying off my student loans. Then came the call from Nora. She needed first and last month rent for an apartment. "Just until I find my passion," she explained. Against my better judgment, I transferred the money. Mom called to thank me, saying, "It's nice to see you finally helping your sister." What they didn't know was that I continued helping. For the past 2 years, I've been transferring 40% of Nora's rent money monthly. Not because she asked, but because her landlord called me when she was 3 months behind. Rather than let her face eviction, I set up automatic payments. I never told my family, and Nora never acknowledged it. She still complained about barely making rent at family gatherings while I sat silently. Last Christmas, Nora announced she had been promoted at the boutique where she worked part-time. Everyone toasted her success. Later, I overheard her telling Mom she had been fired weeks earlier, but didn't want to ruin the holiday. I said nothing about the extra money I had sent when she texted claiming her heat might get shut off. My 27th birthday passed with a text message from Mom. "Happy birthday. Taking Nora shopping for her job interviews. Call you later." She never called. I spent the evening alone, treating myself to takeout and a movie, telling myself it didn't matter. A month ago, Dad called to ask if I could contribute to a special surprise they were planning. He wouldn't elaborate, just said the family was pulling together for something important. I sent $500, assuming it was for Mom's upcoming 60th birthday. I even marked my calendar to make sure I'd be available for whatever they planned. Now, looking at those Facebook photos, I realized what the special surprise had been. A party for Nora on the eve of my birthday. This morning, I woke up at 6:30, like any other workday. Except it wasn't just any day. It was my 28th birthday. I lay in bed for a few extra minutes, allowing myself to hope that today might be different. Maybe there would be a text from Mom, or even a call from Dad. At the very least, Nora might remember, if only because Facebook would remind her. I checked my phone. 3 messages. One from my boss wishing me a happy birthday and letting me know she had left a card on my desk. One from my college roommate, who never forgot. One from my dentist's automated system reminding me about my cleaning next week. Nothing from family. It's still early, I told myself as I showered and dressed for work. By the time I arrived at the office, my Instagram had a few birthday messages from acquaintances. Still nothing from my family. I threw myself into work, telling myself I didn't care. After all, I was 28, not 8. Birthdays weren't supposed to matter at my age. During my lunch break, I finally allowed myself to check Facebook. That's when I saw them. 27 photos posted by my cousin Amber at 11:30 last night. Surprise party for the one and only Nora. Family is everything. I scrolled through with increasing disbelief. There was my mother, beaming with pride as she carried in a 3-tiered cake with "Nora is our star" written in elegant script. There was my father, who had claimed he couldn't visit this month due to work constraints, his arm around Nora as she opened a small jewelry box. The shocked expression on her face as she pulled out what looked like diamond earrings. There was Aunt Judith, who lived 3 states away and missed my college graduation because traveling is too difficult. Uncle Pete and his wife, who I hadn't seen in 2 years. Even my grandmother, who needed assistance walking, had made the journey. The location was unmistakable. My parents' old house, where Mom still lived. The house that I had grown up in, where I had celebrated birthdays with grocery store cakes and practical gifts like school supplies. The house that I had helped maintain, painting the kitchen one summer and fixing the leaky bathroom faucet during college breaks because we can't afford a plumber. As I continued scrolling, the details became more painful. Balloons in Nora's favorite color, a table piled with wrapped presents, a banner reading, "We're so proud of you," hanging across the fireplace where my academic awards had once been displayed before being moved to a drawer to declutter. The final photo showed Nora standing next to Mom, both holding champagne glasses. The caption read, "Celebrating the only one who deserves it. So proud of our girl for landing her dream job interview. #ProudFamily. #BestDaughter." The timestamp was 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes before my birthday officially began. I set my phone down, my sandwich forgotten. My coworker noticed my expression and asked if everything was okay. I nodded and forced a smile. excusing myself to the bathroom where I splashed cold water on my face and took deep breaths. It wasn't just that they had forgotten my birthday. They had actively chosen to celebrate Nora the night before for a job interview. Not even a job, just an interview. After I had helped plan Nora's elaborate 25th birthday last year, coordinating with relatives and collecting money for her gift, a weekend trip to Nashville she had been hinting about for months, I returned to my desk and finished my workday on autopilot. My boss stopped by with a cupcake and the promised card signed by the team. I thanked her with genuine appreciation for the small kindness that suddenly meant more than she could know. That evening, I picked up Thai food on my way home, a small birthday treat to myself. My apartment was quiet when I entered, just as I had left it that morning. No surprise visitors, no cards in the mail. I ate my pad thai directly from the container while staring at the Facebook photos again, unable to stop myself from scrolling through them one more time. The cake must have cost at least $200 from that bakery Mom always said was too expensive. I recognized the jewelry box from the high-end store at the mall. The champagne was the brand Dad saved for special occasions, and there in the background of one photo, barely visible but unmistakable, a gift bag from the tech store with the corner of a laptop box peeking out, the same laptop I had mentioned wanting when my current one started showing signs of age. The exact model I had researched for months, waiting for a sale or bonus from work to justify the expense. I set my food aside, no longer hungry. The magnitude of the betrayal settling over me like a heavy blanket. This wasn't thoughtlessness. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was deliberate. I stared at my phone for nearly 20 minutes, drafting and deleting potential comments. The angry ones felt too revealing, exposing a wound I had spent years pretending didn't exist. The passive-aggressive options seemed childish. The sad, honest responses would only make me look pathetic. Finally, I settled on something simple. Nice cake. Neutral. Could be interpreted as sincere. Only I would know the pain behind those two words. I hit send and set my phone aside, telling myself I wouldn't check for responses. Less than 5 minutes later, I was refreshing the page. The first response came from my aunt. It was delicious. Nora deserves the best. Then my cousin. We missed you, but it was a perfect night for perfect Nora. I noticed neither mentioned my birthday or asked why I hadn't been invited. I was simultaneously hurt and unsurprised. Then came my mother's comment, the one that would finally break the dam. At least someone's worth baking for. I stared at those words, reading them over and over. 6 words that confirmed what I had felt my entire life. In my mother's eyes, I wasn't worth the effort, wasn't worth celebrating, wasn't worth loving the way she loved Nora. The comments continued. My uncle added a laughing emoji. A family friend I hadn't seen in years wrote, "Your sister is such a star." Another cousin tagged Nora asking when she would hear about the job. Then Nora herself replied to my comment. "Sorry, sis. Guess Mom loves me more. LOL. Maybe next year you'll have something worth celebrating too." The casual cruelty stole my breath. The LOL as if her words weren't a knife twisting in an already gaping wound. The implication that I had nothing in my life worth celebrating, despite my degree, my job, my self-sufficiency, despite the fact that I had been silently supporting her for years. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the moment where I typically swallowed the hurt, made an excuse for their behavior, laughed it off to keep the peace. Not today. I typed, "Enjoy it while you can." 4 words. Simple, a bit cryptic, but I knew what they meant, even if my family would interpret it as a petty comment from a jealous sister. Within minutes, my phone rang. It was my cousin Amber, the one who had posted the photos. The only one who seemed to notice the exchange might indicate deeper issues. "Hey, Arya, happy birthday," she said when I answered. "You remembered?" I replied, unable to keep the surprise from my voice. "Of course I did. Listen, about last night. I feel bad you weren't there." "Why was there even a party last night?" I asked. Amber hesitated. "Your mom said Nora needed a confidence boost before her big interview. Said we should show her how much the family supports her." Another pause. "I did ask about you. Your mom said you were too busy with work to attend family functions lately." The lies stung. I hadn't been invited to a family function in months, despite regularly asking when we might get together. "I sent money for this party," I said, quietly. "Dad called it a special surprise the family was planning. I thought it was for Mom's birthday next month." "Oh God, Arya, I had no idea. That's really messed up." After we hung up, I received a text from my father. "Happy birthday, kiddo. Sorry I can't call today. Taking Nora shopping for interview clothes. Dinner soon." No mention of the party. No acknowledgement that he had been in town and not contacted me. Just another broken promise of a soon that would never materialize. I placed my phone face down on the coffee table and finally allowed myself to cry. Not delicate tears, but ugly, body-shaking sobs that had been building for 28 years. I cried for the little girl whose birthday money went to her sister's dance classes, for the teenager who celebrated achievements alone, for the adult who kept giving to a family that took and never gave back. When the tears finally stopped, I felt hollowed out, but strangely clear-headed, like a fever had broken. I remembered similar moments throughout my life. The public humiliation at family gatherings when Mom would compare us. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" At Christmas dinner when I mentioned work stress. "Nora is just more fun to be around," when I asked why I hadn't been invited to a family beach day. "Your sister just needs more support than you." The constant refrain whenever I questioned the imbalance. I had spent my life accepting these explanations, internalizing the message that Nora's needs would always matter more than mine. That my role was to give, to understand, to forgive, to be the responsible one who didn't need attention or care. I picked up my phone and looked at the exchange again. Those 6 words from my mother. At least someone's worth baking for. Something inside me hardened into resolve. I was done being the understanding one, done being the responsible one who got nothing in return, done being invisible. Enjoy it while you can. It wasn't just a comment anymore. It was a promise. Sitting cross-legged on my couch, surrounded by the remains of my solitary birthday dinner, I pulled out my laptop and opened a spreadsheet I had been maintaining for years. Every transfer to Nora, every bill I had paid, every loan that was never mentioned again. 2 years of rent supplements. 6 months of utilities when she claimed her roommate had moved out unexpectedly. 3 car payments when she said she might lose her vehicle. The security deposit on her current apartment that I had covered entirely. The total made me nauseous. $17,842 over 3 years. Money I could have used to pay off my student loans faster. Money that could have gone toward a down payment on a condo instead of my small rented apartment. Money that disappeared into the black hole of Nora's irresponsibility while she continued to be celebrated as the family treasure. I opened my email and found messages from Nora I had saved. "Just need a little help this month. Things are tight at work. Promise I'll pay you back when my commission check comes in. Don't tell Mom and Dad. They'll just worry." Then I found emails from her workplace forwarded to me when I helped her set up her professional email account. Emails she didn't know I could see. Warnings about tardiness. Concerns about her attitude with customers. Finally, a termination notice from 3 months ago, citing inconsistent performance, and unreliability. 3 months. She had been unemployed for 3 months while telling the family she had been promoted, while I continued to transfer money for what I thought was supplemental rent, while my parents planned a party to celebrate her fictional job interview. I checked my bank statement. The automatic transfer to Nora's landlord was scheduled for the first of each month, $800 directly to the property management company, because Nora had proven she couldn't be trusted to use the money for its intended purpose. I continued digging. A quick search of my email found the contact information for her landlord, Mr. Patterson. I had spoken with him when Nora first faced eviction, working out the arrangement that had kept her housed. I had his direct number and email saved. I also found something else, a notice from the utility company that had been accidentally sent to my email instead of Nora's, warning of disconnection due to non-payment. The outstanding balance was over $600, despite the money I had sent specifically for utilities just last month. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Nora hadn't been using my money for rent and utilities. She had been spending it elsewhere while letting the bills pile up, knowing I would step in before disaster struck. She had been fired from her job but continued the charade, probably living off my financial support while seeking attention and sympathy from our parents. And my parents had enabled this, celebrating her lies while dismissing my genuine accomplishments. The surprise party was just the most recent and painful example of a lifelong pattern. I took a deep breath and made 3 decisions. First, I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic transfer to Nora's landlord. The next payment would have processed in 5 days. Now it wouldn't happen. Second, I composed an email to Mr. Patterson. Dear Mr. Patterson, I am writing to inform you that I will no longer be making payments toward Nora Turner's rent beginning immediately. For the past 2 years, I have been providing financial assistance without her taking steps towards self-sufficiency. This arrangement is now terminated. Please direct all future communications regarding payment to Nora directly. I understand this may cause inconvenience, but I believe it is necessary for all parties involved to move forward appropriately. Sincerely, Aria Turner. I hit send before I could reconsider. The third decision was the hardest. I gathered all the evidence: bank statements showing my transfers, emails revealing Nora's termination, the utility disconnection notice, photos of the surprise party, screenshots of the Facebook comments. I compiled everything into a single document, clear and irrefutable proof of both Nora's deception and my family's treatment of me. I composed a second email addressed to my parents with Nora copied. Mom, Dad, and Nora. For years, I have supported this family emotionally and financially without recognition or appreciation. I have remained silent as you celebrated Nora while ignoring my achievements and my birthday. I have transferred thousands of dollars to keep Nora housed and comfortable while she lied about her employment status and financial situation. This ends now. I have canceled all financial support to Nora effective immediately. I have informed her landlord of this change. The attached documents provide evidence of both my contributions and Nora's misrepresentations. I am stepping back from this dynamic to focus on my own well-being. Please respect this decision. Aria. My finger hovered over the send button. This would change everything. There would be anger, denial, guilt trips. They would call me selfish, cruel, jealous. They would twist the narrative to make me the villain. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care what they thought. I hit send. I closed my laptop and turned off my phone. Whatever fallout came, it wouldn't reach me tonight. Tonight, I would sleep knowing I had finally stood up for myself. Tomorrow, I would begin my life free from the burden of being the family doormat. As I prepared for bed, I felt something unexpected: relief. The weight of resentment and obligation had lifted, replaced by a sense of possibility. My 28th year would be different from all the ones before it. It would be mine. Day 1, after sending the emails, passed in strange silence. I kept my phone off through the night and the following workday, focusing instead on a presentation I had been preparing for weeks. My colleagues commented on my unusual focus and energy. "You seem different today," my boss noted with approval. I was different. For the first time in years, my attention wasn't divided between my life and Nora's crises. I felt lighter, clearer. That evening, I finally turned my phone back on. It immediately began buzzing with notifications. 12 missed calls from my mother, 8 from Nora, 3 from my father, 37 text messages, 15 emails. I ignored them all, making dinner and watching a movie I had been wanting to see. I slept better than I had in months. Day 2 brought more calls and messages, increasingly urgent. I filtered my emails to send family communications to a separate folder I would check when I felt ready. I blocked their numbers temporarily, needing space to strengthen my resolve. On day 3, a delivery arrived at my apartment. Flowers from my cousin Amber, with a card reading, "Happy belated birthday. You deserve to be celebrated too." It was the first birthday acknowledgement from family that had made me smile in years. Day 4 marked the beginning of the real storm. Without my monthly transfer, Nora was now facing the reality of her full rent coming due. Her first text came through a mutual friend's phone. "What the hell, Aria? The landlord called about rent. You know I can't afford the full amount. Whatever issue you're having, don't take it out on me. Fix this now." I didn't respond. By day 6, my mother had resorted to leaving voicemails through the apartment building's main line. "Aria Marie Turner, this childish behavior stops now. Your sister is in tears. You've put her housing at risk because of what? Birthday jealousy? I raised you better than this. Call me immediately." I saved the message but didn't return the call. Day 8 brought the first contact from my father. An email with the subject line, "Let's talk about this rationally. Aria, I understand you're upset about the party. We should have been more considerate of the timing, but cutting off your sister financially without warning is an extreme reaction. Nora has always been more fragile than you. You know this. She needs our support while she finds her footing. My mother is beside herself with worry. Please call me so we can discuss a compromise. Dad." I wrote a brief reply. "Dad, this isn't about a party. This is about years of imbalance and deception. Nora has been unemployed for 3 months while pretending otherwise. She has been misusing the money I sent for essentials. At 25, she needs to face the consequences of her choices. I am not discussing a compromise that involves me continuing to enable her. Aria." By day 10, the situation had escalated. Multiple family members had been enlisted to contact me, each with a different approach. Aunt Judith called my workplace, forcing me to have an uncomfortable conversation with the receptionist about not accepting personal calls. Uncle Pete sent a lengthy email about family loyalty and how blood is thicker than water. Even my grandmother left a trembling voicemail about how disappointed she was in my behavior. Nora's messages became increasingly desperate. "The landlord says I have 5 days before eviction proceedings start. Are you seriously going to let your own sister be homeless? What kind of monster have you become?" This was followed an hour later by, "I'm sorry about the Facebook comments, okay? It was just a joke. You always take everything so seriously. Please just send the money this one last time and we can talk about reducing it gradually." When these appeals failed, the tone shifted. "Mom and Dad know everything now. How you've been spying on my emails, how you set me up to fail. Everyone can see how jealous you've always been of me. Good luck ever being welcome in this family again." I maintained my silence, though each message tested my resolve. The old Aria would have crumbled, apologized, sent the money to keep the peace. The new Aria recognized these tactics for what they were: manipulation designed to restore the status quo. On day 11, my mother sent her most pointed threat yet. You have 24 hours to resume financial support to your sister and apologize for this disruption, or you will face consequences. Don't test me on this, Arya. That same day, Nora's boyfriend Dylan, whom I had met exactly twice, sent a rambling message accusing me of destroying Nora's mental health and always trying to sabotage her happiness because you're jealous of how much everyone loves her. I blocked his number along with several others, creating a small circle of peace around myself. I focused on work, accepted a dinner invitation from colleagues I had often declined in the past due to family obligations, and even scheduled a consultation with a therapist, something I had considered for years but never prioritized. The unexpected bright spot came when Amber called to check on me. "I saw the email you sent with all the evidence," she said. "I had no idea you were supporting Nora financially all this time." "No one did," I replied. "That was the point." "Well, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. It's about time someone in this family stood up to the Nora worship. And I'm sorry about your birthday. I should have realized something was off when your mom insisted you couldn't come to the party." Her support meant more than I could express. A reminder that perhaps not everyone in my family was part of the toxic dynamic I had escaped. As day 12 dawned, I knew the real explosion was coming. Nora's rent was now officially late, and the landlord would be making decisions about next steps. I went to work prepared for the storm, yet somehow feeling more centered and calm than I had in years. The call came at 2:17 in the afternoon. I was in a meeting when my phone lit up with Nora's name. I declined the call and continued my presentation. 2 minutes later, it rang again. And again. By the 5th consecutive call, my boss nodded for me to step out and handle whatever emergency was occurring. In the hallway, I finally answered. "What, Nora?" The shriek was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "The landlord just called. He's starting eviction proceedings. Fix this right now." "I can't fix this, Nora," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. "This is the consequence of your choices." "My choices? You chose to stop paying without warning. You chose to ruin my life because you're jealous about a stupid party." "You've been lying about being employed for 3 months. You've been misusing the money I sent for utilities. Those were your choices." "So what? You make plenty of money. You don't have a life anyway, so what else would you spend it on?" The casual cruelty still had the power to sting, but not to break me. "Goodbye, Nora. I suggest you start packing or finding a way to pay your rent." I ended the call as she was mid-scream and returned to my meeting. 10 minutes later, my phone began buzzing continuously with notifications. Our family group chat, dormant for months except for Nora's announcements, had exploded. "Mom, answer your phone immediately." "This has gone too far. Call your sister." "I can't believe you would do this to your own blood." "Your grandfather would be ashamed." And on, a chorus of outrage and condemnation. I muted the chat and focused on finishing my workday. At 4:30, the receptionist called my extension. "Arya, your mother is in the lobby. She seems upset. Security is asking if they should escort her out." My heart raced, but I took a deep breath. "Tell them I'll be right down." In the lobby, my mother was pacing, her face flushed with anger. When she saw me, she pointed a shaking finger. "You! How dare you humiliate our family like this?" The security guard looked at me questioningly. I smiled at him. "It's okay, Frank. This is my mother. We'll step outside for a moment." Outside the building, I turned to face her. "Mom, I'm at work. This is inappropriate." "Inappropriate? You know what's inappropriate? Sending private financial information to the entire family, making your sister look bad to make yourself feel important. She could lose her apartment." "Mom, Nora lost her job 3 months ago and didn't tell anyone." "She's been trying to find the right time to tell us. She didn't want to worry us." "She had no problem worrying me when she needed money. She had no problem accepting my help while mocking me publicly." "That was just teasing. You've always been too sensitive." A colleague walked past, eyeing us curiously. I maintained my professional demeanor. I can't do this here. If you want to have a civil conversation, we can schedule a time to talk. Oh, now you want to talk after dropping this bomb on everyone. Your sister is having a panic attack. Your father had to leave work early, all because you couldn't handle not being the center of attention for once. The irony of her statement was so profound, I almost laughed. Mom, when have I ever been the center of attention in this family? She dismissed this with a wave of her hand. You're coming with me right now to apologize to your sister and reinstate the payments. No, I'm not. The simple refusal seemed to shock her more than anything else. In her world, I always eventually gave in. Excuse me? I said no. I'm going back to work now. I suggest you leave before security becomes concerned again. I turned to go, but she grabbed my arm. If you walk away from this family now, don't expect to be welcomed back. I looked at her hand on my arm, then into her eyes. That sounds like a threat, Mom. It's a reality. Family stands by family. Funny, I said, gently removing her hand. I've been standing by this family financially and emotionally for years. Where was this family stands by family motto on my birthday? She had no answer for that. I walked back into the building, nodding reassuringly at Frank as I passed. My hands were shaking, but my resolve was intact. That evening, the real confrontation arrived. I had just settled in with dinner when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I could see Nora, my mother, and my father all standing in the hallway. I considered not answering, but decided it was better to face this head-on. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. Yes? Nora pushed forward. You need to fix this now. The landlord says I have 3 days to pay or get out. Then I suggest you start packing, I replied. My father stepped in, always the mediator. Arya, please let us come in and discuss this rationally. I hesitated, then stepped aside. They filed in, Nora immediately throwing herself dramatically onto my couch, my mother perching tensely on an armchair, my father standing awkwardly by the window. Nice place, my father commented, looking around. I don't think I've been here since you moved in. 2 years ago, I confirmed. An uncomfortable silence followed. I didn't offer drinks or make small talk. Finally, my mother spoke. Arya, this vendetta against your sister has gone too far. You've made your point. Now it's time to be the bigger person and help your family. This isn't a vendetta, I said. This is me stopping an unhealthy dynamic that's gone on too long. By making your sister homeless? Nora interjected with a sob. You wouldn't be facing eviction if you'd been honest about losing your job and made arrangements with your landlord. Or if you'd used the money I sent for its intended purpose instead of whatever you actually spent it on. I had expenses, Nora protested. Like what? The designer bag you posted about last month? The weekend trip to Miami with Dylan? My father looked confused. Nora, you said you were still employed. When did you lose your job? Nora shot me a venomous look. It's complicated, Dad. They reduced my hours and then eventually let me go, but I've been interviewing. For 3 months? I asked, with no results? The job market is tough right now. Especially when you were fired for chronic tardiness and poor attitude, I added, pulling up the termination email on my phone. Would you like me to read this to everyone? My mother intervened. Stop attacking your sister. This is exactly the problem, Arya. You've always been jealous of Nora, always trying to make her look bad to make yourself look good. Mom, I said quietly, I've been paying 40% of Nora's rent for 2 years. I've been covering her utilities when she claimed she couldn't afford them. I sent money for car payments, for medical bills, for emergency after emergency. All while you and Dad celebrated her and ignored me, including throwing her a surprise party the night before my birthday using money I contributed. We didn't know it was your birthday, my father said weakly. You forgot your own daughter's birthday? I asked, looking him directly in the eyes. He had the grace to look ashamed. Things have been hectic. They're always hectic when it comes to me, I said, but never too hectic for Nora. That's because Nora needs us more, my mother exclaimed. You've always been independent, always handled things on your own. Because I had to, I replied, because no one was going to handle them for me. So this is punishment? Nora asked. You're punishing me because Mom and Dad love me more? The room went silent. The truth laid bare in Nora's careless words. This isn't punishment, I said after a moment. This is me prioritizing myself for the first time. This is me refusing to continue supporting someone who takes without appreciation, who mocks me publicly, who lies about her situation. What do you want? My mother demanded. An apology? Fine, we're sorry we forgot your birthday. We're sorry about the party timing, but this response is completely disproportionate. I don't want an apology, I said. I want change. I want recognition of the pattern that's dominated our family for decades. I want Nora to take responsibility for her own life, and I want to focus on mine. By leaving your sister homeless? My father asked. Nora has options, I pointed out. She can get a job, any job, to pay rent while looking for something better. She can find a roommate. She can move back home with Mom. She can downsize to a more affordable place. Those all sound horrible, Nora wailed. Welcome to adult life, the life I've been living while subsidizing your extended adolescence. My mother stood abruptly. This is getting us nowhere. Here's what's going to happen. You will reinstate the payments to the landlord, at least until Nora finds stable employment. In return, we'll make more effort to acknowledge your contributions. The condescension in her tone was the final straw. No, I said simply. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is this. I'm going to continue living my life free from financial obligation to Nora. And as it happens, that life might be changing significantly soon. 3 pairs of eyes fixed on me. What does that mean? My father asked. I've been offered a position in our Chicago office, a significant promotion with relocation assistance. I've accepted it. Chicago? My mother repeated. You can't move to Chicago. Who will help with family matters here? That's exactly my point. I've never been seen as a daughter or sister in this family. I've been seen as a resource, a backup plan, a safety net. Well, the safety net is being folded up and put away. You would really abandon your family? Nora asked, tears streaming down her face. After everything we've done for you? The question was so absurd I laughed out loud. What exactly have any of you done for me, Nora? Name one thing. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, looking to our parents for help. My father cleared his throat. Arya, I understand you're upset, and perhaps we've overlooked certain things, but cutting off your sister and moving across the country seems extreme. It's not extreme. It's healthy. It's necessary for all of us. If you do this, my mother said, her voice tight with anger, don't expect our support. I've never had your support. That's rather the point. The truth of it hung in the air between us. My mother gathered her purse, a signal that the conversation was over. Come on, Nora. We'll figure this out ourselves, as always. Nora stood, mascara streaking her cheeks. For a moment, I saw a flicker of something beyond the tears and tantrum. Fear. Real fear. Of facing consequences without me as a backup. Eiley, she said, using the childhood nickname she knew I had a weakness for, I can't lose my apartment. Please, I'll do better. I'll get a job tomorrow. I'll pay you back everything. I've heard those promises before, I said, not unkindly. But this time you'll need to prove it with actions, not words. You're really not going to help me. The realization finally seemed to be sinking in. I am helping you. Just not in the way you want. My father lingered as my mother stormed out, Nora trailing behind her. Arya, he said quietly, I never realized the extent of what you've been doing for your sister. No one did. That was how Nora wanted it. He nodded slowly. The party. That was poorly timed. I should have remembered your birthday. Yes, you should have. Chicago? Huh, he said after a moment. That's a big move. A necessary one. He seemed to be struggling with something. Finally, he said, I haven't been a good father to you, have I? The simple acknowledgement after years of imbalance brought unexpected tears to my eyes. No, I said honestly. You haven't. He nodded again, accepting the truth without argument. I'm sorry for that. Truly. As he left, he turned back one last time. When do you leave for Chicago? 3 weeks, I replied. Perhaps we could have lunch before then, just the two of us. I didn't immediately agree, but I didn't refuse either. I'll think about it. After they left, I sat in the silence of my apartment, processing what had just happened. For the first time in my life, I had stood my ground against the full force of my family's expectations and manipulation. I had stated my truth and held firm. My phone buzzed with a text from Nora. I hate you for doing this to me. 5 minutes later, another text arrived. I don't know how to do this without you. The second message was more honest than anything she had said in years. It was the first step toward her growing up and facing reality. It was painful, but necessary. I didn't reply to either message. Some journeys had to be walked alone. 6 months later, I stood at the window of my Chicago apartment, watching snow fall over the city skyline. The view still took my breath away sometimes, a constant reminder of how much my life had changed since that pivotal birthday. The first weeks after the confrontation had been difficult. My phone had buzzed constantly with messages ranging from pleading to threatening. My mother had attempted to rally the extended family against me, painting me as the villain who abandoned her sister in her time of need. Some had believed her, others had reached out privately to say they understood, even admired my decision to break the cycle. Nora had indeed faced eviction, but had not ended up homeless. At the last minute, she had found a roommate, another retail worker who needed to split costs. They had moved to a smaller apartment in a less desirable area. According to Amber, who had become my main connection to family news, Nora had taken a job at a fast food restaurant and was actually showing up regularly. My mother still barely spoke to me. Our communications were limited to terse exchanges during major holidays. She had not visited Chicago, though I had invited her for Thanksgiving. Too busy taking care of the family members who still care, had been her response. My father, surprisingly, had made more effort. We had that lunch before I left, an awkward but honest conversation where he had admitted to years of favoring Nora. She was louder about her needs, he explained, and you seemed so capable, so self-sufficient. I think we all took that for granted. It wasn't a complete apology, but it was a start. He had visited Chicago twice, each time making more effort to know the woman I had become rather than the daughter he had overlooked. Our relationship was tentative but healing. I had found a therapist in Chicago, Dr. Winters, who specialized in family dynamics. Our weekly sessions had helped me process years of being the forgotten child, the responsible one, the family bank. What you did wasn't just standing up for yourself, she had told me. It was refusing to enable a dynamic that was harmful to everyone, including Nora. That perspective had helped ease the guilt that sometimes still crept in during quiet moments. I hadn't ruined Nora's life by cutting off support. I had given her the opportunity to build her own. My professional life had flourished in Chicago. The promotion had come with new responsibilities that challenged and excited me. I had made friends among my colleagues, people who knew me only as I was now, not as the perpetual sidekick to the family star. My apartment doorbell rang, pulling me from my reflections. It was Amber, arrived for her weekend visit. We'd grown closer since the fallout, finding in each other the sister relationship we had both lacked. This view is still insane, she said, joining me at the window. Best decision ever coming here. Most days, I agree, I said with a smile. Heard from the family lately? She asked, settling onto my couch. Dad called yesterday, said he might come for Christmas. And Nora? I hesitated. Actually, I got an email from her last week. First direct communication in months. Amber raised her eyebrows. And? It was different. No accusations, no demands. She said she's been working full-time for 4 months now, said she's taken an online course in bookkeeping. Wow, actual adulting. Apparently, I agreed. She also said she's been thinking about our conversation that night, about how she took advantage of my help for years. She stopped short of a full apology, but it's progress, Amber finished for me. Progress, I echoed. Later that evening, after dinner with Amber and some of my new friends, I sat down to reply to Nora's email. I had been thinking about it for days, weighing my response. I wrote, Nora, thank you for your email. I'm glad to hear you're working steadily and pursuing education. Those are positive steps. The past can't be changed, but I'm open to building a healthier relationship moving forward, one based on mutual respect rather than dependency. Take care, Aria. Short, clear boundaries, but an open door. It felt right. As I hit send, I realized how much I'd changed in these 6 months. The old Arya would have jumped at any hint of reconciliation, rushing back into the dysfunctional dynamic at the first sign of improvement. The new Arya recognized that real change required time, consistency, and maintained boundaries. I had learned that family relationships, like all relationships, needed to be reciprocal to be healthy. That love without respect wasn't really love at all. That sometimes the most caring thing you could do for someone was to stop cushioning them from the consequences of their choices. Most importantly, I had learned that I deserved to be celebrated, not just for what I could give others, but for who I was. My 29th birthday was approaching, and for the first time, I was planning my own celebration, surrounded by people who saw me clearly and valued my presence in their lives. The journey had been painful but necessary. A family dynamic built on decades of imbalance couldn't be fixed overnight, or perhaps ever fully repaired. But I had found peace in creating my own path, in prioritizing my well-being after years of putting others first. The snow continued to fall outside my window, blanketing the city in quiet beauty. I thought about how sometimes we need to walk away from what's familiar to discover what's possible. How breaking patterns can be terrifying, but liberating. How healing often begins not with forgiveness, but with the radical act of valuing yourself enough to say no more. I was still learning, still growing, still figuring out the boundaries of this new life. But for the first time, I was doing it on my own terms, free from the weight of being the forgotten daughter, the reliable sister, the family bank. And that was worth celebrating. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to prioritize your own well-being over family expectations? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more stories about setting boundaries and finding your worth. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is put yourself first. Thank you for listening, and remember, your story matters, even when others try to write you out of it.